to Fresh Eats with me. Come on in, honey. Today we are going to have a wonderful meal. Listen, this is going to be one that's mouth-watering, one that's going to make you want to come back for more. And I don't know if I'll be able to give you more, but you can sure make more from my recipes. Yes, you can. Come on over here and we're going to make the king crab leg seasoning for us to be able to put in the pot so that they can have a nice, good flavor to go along with our trout. Honey, it's gonna be so delicious. You're gonna wanna jump through that video. Come on over here. So now, what we have right now is a steaming hot pot of boiling water. Inside of that water, you wanna use, and now I don't have any endorsements, but hear me, Old Bay. We're gonna use some Old Bay seasoning, and you wanna use a generous amount of that, not to where the crab legs will be salty. Now, king crab legs, it takes a little bit more seasoning for those than some of the regular crab legs. Honey, now you know we can't go without having a little bit of garlic. So you want to put a little bit, okay, you want to put a lot of bit of garlic in the pot. Now, I have my recipe and my measurements that are measured out. Now, I'm originally from Birmingham, so, you know, growing up with parents that were from the country, there weren't any measurements. And so we're not going to get any extra calories by using spices. Now, when it comes to other things like oils and things of that nature, we want to make sure that those measurements are precise, especially if you're baking a cake. But right now, we're just talking about king crab, honey. Somebody say king. Oh, yes, honey, it's all about the king. So what we want to also add in there, now you know you cannot have crab legs without having a little bit of touch of spice. So we're going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper in there. Now, some of my family members really love pepper. Then we've got some that are just like really sensitive to a whole lot of heat. So we're just going to put just a little bit inside. So we've got the Old Bay seasoning, the garlic and the peppers. We want to put just a little bit of accent to bring and wake up the flavor of those crab legs. And lastly, we want to use, well, maybe not last, but some vinegar, white vinegar. The white vinegar helps the shell to be easily, to crack the shell easily. So you want to put a little bit of vinegar in there, just a little bit, and then to wake up the flavor of everything, you like to use not only the juice of the lemon, but you want to use, for the ones that I'm cooking, if you're doing a whole pot or maybe a pound of them or 2 pounds of them, you want to use the entire lemon. So we're just going to do the juice of a lemon. And then we're gonna take that lemon and drop the whole thing, where? Right in the pot, honey. That's gonna be some goodness going on in that pot. You wanna save the rest of that lemon because we're gonna make a sauce to go with the crab leg and the trout, and it's going to be so delicious. Listen, today we're gonna be making trout. We're also gonna be making baby carrots, and we're gonna be making some roasted potatoes. Yes, we are. And I'm telling you, you are not going to want to come away from your plate, but I promise you, it's going to be clean once you're done. So today, let's go ahead and talk about making these glazed baby carrots. So today we have, I've already prepared my pot with just a little bit of brown sugar already on the inside of my pot. So we put the brown sugar inside. We're gonna take just some basic baby carrots, and we're gonna pour them from the bag directly into our pot. And so I don't know how many you're cooking for, but I'm cooking for a lumberjack, which is my husband, myself, and one of our daughters. So I wanna make sure that we have a little bit of food left over for the next day. That's just in case I don't cook, which, when has that ever happened in my home? That's almost a never. And guess what? I really don't mind because I enjoy cooking with my family and for my family. So what we're going to do, we're going to put that to the side. And what we're going to do is season the carrots. Now, come on over here and look inside of our pot. Let me tell you, these are some of the most delicious looking carrots, and I got them from our local market. And these actually are grown locally. So it's always best, especially for those who have allergies, if you can try to find foods and fruits and vegetables that are grown locally. Those are really, really good to help your body, especially like local honeys and things of that nature. Sometimes I do use honey inside of my carrots based on the taste that I'm looking for. But today we're gonna season it with a little bit of salt. For those of you who don't use a lot of salt, You can use another substitute that you can put on the inside of it. A little bit of accent. Accent just does nothing but wake the flavor of the food up. So we use also just a little bit of black pepper. Now let me tell you, my family, we are black pepper connoisseurs. So if it looks like I'm sprinkling a lot, I am. We like ours just a little bit on the peppery side. So we put that in there along with the brown sugar that's already there. So also you want to add some type of oil to it. Some people use the olive oil inside of their carrots. For the taste that I'm looking for to go along with the meal, we're going to use butter. Now, putting pure butter inside of your food, it's really, really delicious, and it's going to wake the flavor up of the carrots. Some people like to make the carrots also as a dessert. Some people can put nutmeg inside of them, which is absolutely delicious. So today we're just going to stick with the butter and cook basic glazed carrots. So let's go to the refrigerator and grab some butter out. Yum, 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 yum. So we're just going to take a little bit of pure butter. So I've got the little quarter cuts of pure butter. And so with that, we're going to put a little bit of that butter inside and make everything really, really delicious tasting. So we're just going to go in and grab us a knife here. Let's go to the other and grab one of our good precious knives here. And we're just going to take half of that stick there and place it right inside on top. And then we're going to go, and I'll be right back. What we're going to do is put half of the pot of water inside and bring them to a boil and then cut them off. So be right back. And once you see them again, they will be done and delicious and ready to pop in your mouth. Okay, so now we're ready to prepare this good trout. Honey, let me tell you, it's going to be delectable. So what you want to do is get you a cookie pan or a pan that's something similar to this. And what you want to do is line the pan. I've already measured out the foil. So you want to take your foil, stick your foil in the pan, press out the points and the corners, and fold your foil around the edges. Now what I use heavy duty foil, and let me tell you, it's really good. Now, one of the reasons that I use the foil is so that you won't have such a hard time washing the pan when you're done. Okay, I just gave you my shortcut, but it makes it a whole lot easier and you're in the kitchen a whole lot less time. So, but what you want to do, if you have skin on your trout, you want to gently put oil in the bottom of the pan if your trout has skin on the bottom of it. So, what we're going to do now is take our oil and put on the bottom of our pan. So my jar has olive oil inside of it. So I'm just going to gently place a little bit on the bottom of the pan. What will that help do? That will help develop a crisp on the bottom of your fish. Because who likes skin on the bottom of their fish and it's gooey like applesauce? Yuck, yuck, and yuck. So if you get a little good crisp on the bottom of it, that's going to really, really, really help. So what you want to do is take a nice fork or a spatula, whatever you have, and gently, or you can use your hands, and place your trout directly on the pan. Isn't that beautiful? That is the most beautiful piece of fish I have ever seen. You definitely want to make sure that the cut of the trout is a really good trout, and make sure that it smells fresh and not super fishy. If it's super fishy, that means that the trout that you got from your market is a tad bit old. So you want to make sure you're careful with that because you don't want to feed your family contaminants. And we're going to go on with our next piece, grabbing it out of the package. And I just might have to get my hands a little bit dirty there and bringing that over to the pan. Look how gorgeous that is. Absolutely gorgeous. So let me clean those hands up so that we can now prepare to season our meat. There's nothing like sitting down and having good fish that has the appropriate seasonings on it. But it's also good when you're in the kitchen and you're working with food. Make sure that you don't get cross-contamination and you constantly wash your hands. Usually I keep beside me a rag or something that can keep my hands clean at all times. So make sure if you're gonna cook it with me and you're gonna have fresh eats with me, you gotta be clean in the kitchen, honey. Now we might mess up a few pans, but we're definitely gonna be clean in the kitchen. All right, now let's season our trout. Now today, because we're having roasted potatoes and we're having baby carrots, we want to make sure that our fish today is the star of our dish. Now the carrots and the potatoes are going to be like a supporting actress or supporting actor, meaning they're not the star, but they do have a role that really fits in and it's going to play an important role. But today our fish is our mighty star. So, like me. So let's come on in. We're gonna start by putting some oil on the top of the fish because oil is important and the heat, the cooking heat of the fish is so important. So we've already preheat our oven to 400 degrees. Now, based on your oven, it depends if you have a gas oven or if you have an electric one. They both cook differently. So you have to kind of determine what works best for your oven. Now, if you cook the fish around 400 degrees, what you're going to get is a very flaky fish that falls apart evenly. It's going to be a medium well fish. The way that you have a very good fish is by cooking it medium well. Now there's some people and sometimes some may like it well done, so you have to cook it to your preference. But if you like a medium well fish, the medium well is going to be about 400 degrees for about 15 minutes or so. Once that comes to, and if you're having a blackened fish, then of course you're going to put your oven on broil and you're going to broil it, on broil, and then you're going to cook it at that high temperature for about maybe 10 minutes or so. So it just depends on your oven. You'll have to find out what works best for you, your family, and the oven that you have at your home. All right, so now let's go ahead and apply the oil to the top of the fish. Let me tell you, honey, some goodness is about to go into this pan here. So we're going to gently place the oil across the top of our fish there. Let's make sure we get a little bit of that crevice there. All right. And sure we wiping those tops off. And now we're going to start with some seasoning salt. Now let me tell you something, honey. I grew up on Lawry's. Some people call it Lawry's. Some people call it Lawry's. I just call it Lawry's. So let me tell you something. I grew up with this seasoning. My mom used that seasoning. My grandmothers used that seasoning. Honey, even my daddy can cook, honey. We come from a cooking family. So let me tell you, I use this seasoning. So very lightly, we're going to go across the fish with this because we have so many. We want the fish and the herbs to be the star of the dish. So we're just going to season it very lightly across the top with that seasoning salt. And then we're going to go with because we're going to be making a truffle sauce to go along with this, truffle aioli to go along with this fish. What we're going to do is to season it with some Cavenders. And it's an all-purpose Greek seasoning. Now, I like the seasonings and the herbs and the spices that it has on the inside of it. It's going to give the fish a little bit more different flavor. So let's sprinkle just a little bit across the top there because we don't want the fish to end up being salty. So we're just going to take a little bit of that lightly across the top there and making sure all the parts are seasoned on every end. Okay? So the parts that actually got a little extra on it, what you do is just take you may want to use a spatula, anything that won't harm the fish because it's very delicate and you want to make sure that you stick with that delicacy and tenderness of the fish. So now what we're going to do, of course, honey, you know garlic is my favorite. Sometimes I roast fresh garlic and I'll put fresh garlic inside of it. But today we're just going to go lightly across the top with a little of the powdered garlic. There's nothing wrong with powdered garlic, and if you have garlic that you've had sitting in your pantry for a long period of time, what you can do is roast that garlic, or you can put it in your dehydrator. Let me tell you what works well as a dehydrator. If you've got an Instapot, or if you've got one of the cookers, that the new air fryers that comes out. Listen, On your air fryer, you might have a temperature or a setting that says dehydrate. Listen, stick that garlic inside of the dehydrator. Put it inside of there. You can use that after you get all the moisture out of it. Let me tell you something. You can crunch it up inside of your NutriBullet, and you can make your own fresh garlic powder. And listen, if you don't have a container, use your old container after you've cleansed it and put your fresh garlic powder on the inside. Listen, you'll save yourself a whole lot of money. So now we're going to take just a little bit of onion powder. It's only a supporting actress, remember? It's a supporter to the main flavors that you're looking for. So just a little bit of onion powder. So we got that on, got the Greek seasoning on. We're gonna put just a hair of accent. Some people like their fish super plain. Listen, like I said, honey, I grew up in the South. We don't like anything plain. I like to taste the seasoning along with the actual flavor of the food that I'm eating. So if it's a vegetable, I want to taste the true vegetable, but I want the seasonings to be the supporter to enhance the vegetable or the meat or the fish or the, whatever you're eating, to take it to the whole next level. So now we're just going to use some basic black pepper. Actually, my preference is to use fresh ground pepper. So let's just try some fresh ground pepper. Let me grab that. And I need to fill my fresh ground pepper back up. So we're gonna put some fresh ground pepper on that. Honey, look at that. Ooh, that is so good looking to me. Almost got me wanting to make a piece of sushi out of this and just jump right into it and eat it all up. So you put a little bit of fresh ground pepper on there. Remember earlier I told y'all we like pepper, don't we? So now we'll just let them add more if they like it. So now what we're gonna take now is some fresh, actually it's not fresh, it's actually freeze-dried, and it's rosemary leaves. So we're gonna take some organic rosemary leaves. And honey, let me tell you, I get these right from Wally World. Of course, we've nicknamed Walmart Wally World. So this is, like I said, not a paid endorsement, but let me tell you something. I believe that, places that we shop, we ought to share where we shop, where we're getting our good bargains at. So we're gonna put that fresh rosemary right on the top there, just a little bit, not a lot, because we have other herbs that we're going to use and we want them to be supporting to one another and not overpowering. So we're going to put a little bit of rosemary, put just a little bit more on that one, because I didn't put as much on this one as I did the other one. So I'm going to put just a little bit of rosemary on there, and that is that. And so the rest that we don't use, we just take our hand, because our hands are clean, and put it back over inside of there. And we're going to use a little bit of thyme. Let me tell you, rosemary and thyme together are absolutely delicious. So we're going to take a little bit of thyme. This is by McCormick. They are also one of my longtime users in the kitchen. I love their seasonings as well. They have been my herb friends for many, many years. So let's just open that one up, because that one's taking a little long there. And I like to move it in the kitchen, honey. And sometimes I'll take the fresh dill. I couldn't find any today in the store that was worthy of me purchasing. So today I had to go with the spices today that would support my dish in a healthy way. So now our fresh part of our food today is our carrots, our fish, and our king crab. That's the fresh eats with me today. So now, lastly, let me tell you, the star of my seasonings is tarragon. Honey, Tara is gone. Honey, listen, tarragon. And I love some tarragon. Tarragon in your food, and your fish particularly, it makes your fish feel like a delight on the plate. I mean, it's like a delight going down your throat, down into your stomach. Let me tell you, honey, I wish you could come here and eat with me today. Let me tell you, when this is all over and it's plated and it's done, listen, I'm going to need a pillow. I'm going to need something, but I think I'm going to need more of my treadmill than anything once we are done. So we're going to put that tarragon on there. And let me tell you, that's going to be so delightful. You all see that goodness going on there? And let me tell you, this year, my goal, since we're doing the Fresh Eats with me, is to start a new herb garden this year. Last year I wasn't able to do one, with COVID and so many other things going on with COVID. I just kind of just played it safe and didn't really do much with a garden. My family knows I'm not so much of the green thumb person when it comes to growing plants and things of that nature. So we're gonna try something new, and you with Fresh Eats with me, you're gonna freshly help me to grow this garden. So if you've got any comments that you have or any ideas of how I can grow a fresh herb garden, put the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so that I can have the best herb garden. And if you'd like to share your comments with me, maybe share your email with me or something, and maybe what I'll do is just pick one of the people out there who's got a really great idea for an herb garden. And if you have pictures to show when that season comes around, some people actually grow herb gardens in the wintertime because of the conditions in their home. So if you have something you'd like to share with me, share it with me on there, and maybe I will feature your post on one of my shows so that I can say, hey, this is who shared with me of how to get my good herb garden going, and then we can take it from there. So let's go ahead and finish our fish. The last thing that we have to do with our fish here is to place just a little bit of butter on the top. Now, what is the butter for? The butter actually fuses the flavors in on the top. The olive oil on the bottom actually is going to sear the bottom and make it crispy and delicious and so juicy. I promise you, honey, did I say I promise you? Honey, I promise you, you will not forget that you had some trout with me today. This is going to be the freshest tasting trout that you will eat ever. This is so delicious. Did I say it's the freshest tasting trout? It is the freshest tasting trout you will ever have. So let me tell you, let's get this butter on here, and let me grab a knife. We're gonna grab a new knife, and we're gonna place a couple of pats of butter on our trout. And that's just more or less and we're gonna place a couple of lemons on here. So I'm gonna put a pat here and a pat here, and maybe just a little bit there. And then we're gonna do the same thing over here. And the same thing over here, just a little larger piece there because of the area. And then we'll do one more piece. We don't want too much butter on it. So this one's gonna run down the edge there and make it so delicious. So let me tell you now what we're ready for. We're ready for the oven, honey. We're ready to take it on in. Come on, somebody say, let's take it on in. This is going to be the star of our dish. We're taking it to the oven, and we're going to place it on the inside, and we're going in. Somebody said it's going, and it's going, and it's gone. And we're closing that dish up. And now, what we have to do now, after we have cleansed our area, and so because I've worked with fish, let me tell you, Fresh Eats with me is not just about us cooking, but when we're cooking, I believe the greatest cook in the world is the cleanest cook. Let me tell you something. I don't want to go to your restaurant or come and eat at your home or your establishment if you're not clean. So listen, I keep a little disinfectant that I make inside of a jar. I'm in a container. I spray that counter down just a little bit. It has disinfectant. We've worked with fish, and we do our cleanup and move on to our next thing. Next, we're going to be working with our potatoes. So we're going to take our potatoes, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to cut your potatoes and prepare for your roasted potatoes with the aioli sauce. My goodness, that trout is cooking wonderfully. Just a few minutes, we'll be able to taste it and see its glory. All right, now it's time for us to do our roasted potatoes. Honey, don't these golden potatoes look so wonderful? And you can do these with red potatoes or purple potatoes. Sometimes I use all the different colors, and those are amazing, and they're fun to look at on the plate and to eat. So now what we're gonna do is take potatoes, and we're gonna cut them in halves or quarters, depending on how big they are. So we're just gonna take a potato just like this and slice it in half. Or you can do quarters if you want them to cook faster. So we're just gonna take these and set them aside. Some of them I said will be a little bit bigger than others, so you may wanna take quarters. I typically like them to be a little bit more uniform on the plate, so we'll just go ahead and make quarters, okay? So you're gonna take them, slice them in half, and quarter them. Slice in half and quarter them. And if you come across a potato that's got a little bit of yucky in it, just take your knife and cut it out of the side, set that to the side, put the potato back. And once again, we're gonna rinse them again Sometimes if I have time before dinner starts, I will actually soak them in water for quite some time. What that does is by soaking them in water, it pulls out a little bit more of the starch, and therefore when you put them in the oven, it gives you a little bit more of that goodness and crispiness to your potatoes. And did you know you can do French fries the same way? Listen, honey, I am a French fry connoisseur. You can take French fries and actually soak your potatoes in water for quite some time. Some people like to soak them for about 30 minutes or so, and then rinse them and then soak them again, and then make sure that they're completely dried before you get ready to fry them so you won't have grease splattering all over the place. But let me tell you, you want to get a good crispy potato, a good crispy fry on your potatoes, soak them just a little bit in water. So let's continue to cut up because I am so ready for dinner. And let me tell you, my husband is on his way home, and let me tell you, between he and my daughter, they love these potatoes, and they love fish, and they love carrots. My family loves to eat. They love to eat. It doesn't matter what I cook. I can always hear coming from the dinner table. And let me tell you, that just warms my heart when I'm cooking or when I've prepared. And I know I've done my best in the kitchen, or at least I've tried my best in the kitchen. It makes it really good when you have your family telling you, listen, this is the best meal I've ever had. And of course, they say that about every meal. Oh, it's the best meal they've ever had. One of these days, I'm going to come on here and I'm going to show you how to make some delectable desserts and things of that nature. Now, I don't pride myself in being a baker, but there are a few things that I think I've got a little spin on that I've tried my hand with, and I think that you all would really enjoy preparing them for your family. And listen, hey, get your kids involved. If you have young children, my children are adults now, but get your kids involved. When they were little, I often got them involved in the kitchen. They really liked cooking cookies and things of that nature, or making homemade pizza, things of that nature. We're gonna have a day when we make homemade pizza. I missed that one on yesterday because it was National Pizza Day. But honey, it doesn't have to be National Pizza Day for us to make pizza, honey. We make pizza anytime at my house. So national or unnational, it's always national in my house. So let me tell you, you're gonna take these potatoes here and then continue to cut them. Like, see, some are longer than others. So you're gonna have some that look a little bit different, especially if they didn't come from the same batch. So, but nevertheless, when we come back, you will see all of the potatoes done, and we'll be ready to put them in the bowl. Now that we've gotten our potatoes all cut up, they're all cut up and now ready to go into our bowl for washing. And somebody said, well, didn't you wash them one time before? Yes, and we're gonna wash them again and again and again. Why? Because you can feel in your hand the gooiness of the starch. And listen, honey, that's where the fat is. The fat is inside of the starch. Now, I know I can stand to lose a few pounds myself, but let me tell you, I should know, if anybody knows about the fat and the potatoes and the starch, it is me. Listen, honey, I love potatoes, and I love that goodness and that starchiness. So we're gonna take them and we're gonna wash them, and we will be right back to show you how to season these good buddies. Okay, now we're back. Now these bad boys have been in soak for about 20-30 minutes or so, and now we are ready to season them. So you want to look down the bowl? We've got nice, good potatoes that's been soaked, and now we're ready to season them. Now listen, I want you to know, if you don't have the time to do all of that, and you're really rushing, and you just got home from work and you don't have time to soak them, you don't have to soak them. You're still going to get good tasting potatoes, and I promise you, seasoned right, your family is still going to enjoy some really good tasting potatoes. Touching potatoes. I guess they can't touch your soul after you've eaten them, right? Okay, so now, of course, you know we do nothing in this household without olive oil. Somebody said olive oil. We're going to enjoy. Now, that's a blooper. Some good tasting olive oil here. All right, let's pour some oil. And we need some good oil, because what we want to do is to make sure that each one of these potatoes soak up and eat up the seasoning that we're going to be placing inside of this bowl. So let me tell you, Once you get the seasoning on, you have to make sure once you get the oil on, you have to make sure you got the right amount of oil in your bowl, because once you get the seasoning on, it's going to be very difficult to go back and put oil on them, or else you lose the seasoning that you've placed on them. So let's get our fork here and make sure that each one of these potatoes has been evenly coated inside of the olive oil. So you just want to roll them around. Some would just use a spoon, or I just grabbed what I had handy right there and put each one of them around in that oil that's down there. Oh, aren't they beautiful and shiny? Do you know, actually you can cook them like this with just a little tiny bit of salt and be happy, and some pepper. And they'll be just as delicious. But let me tell you, we're gonna put some herbs and spices on them. And the herbs and spices are gonna complement along with the trout, and then along with those carrots that have been gently seasoned. So, okay, now we are ready to put our seasonings on. So what we're going to use now is a little bit of Hidden Valley ranch dressing seasoning. Honey, let me tell you, this is one of the loves of my life, is the Hidden Valley ranch seasoning. Listen, I am willing to put this on anything that I eat. I love, well, maybe not anything, but a whole lot of vegetables. So you're gonna put a hefty amount of that ranch dressing seasoning on those potatoes. And along with that, I didn't bring it over, we're gonna put just a little touch of seasoning, regular salt on them. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of regular salt on there, because potatoes can be very, very stubborn sometimes. And then what we're gonna do is take a little bit of thyme. Now these are really better with thyme that you've grown in your garden, or that you've gotten from your local farmer's market. So I'm gonna put a little bit of thyme on them. That's gonna make them really, really delicious. And we're gonna put a little bit of black pepper. So you know I love my fresh pepper. And it's time for me to get another pepper mill and fill it. Can't you hear I'm at the bottom of it? That's how much pepper I eat. I love pepper. And we're gonna season with a little bit of regular pepper here, since I didn't have enough of the fresh pepper. Just put a little bit more pepper down in there. And we're gonna put, of course, you know we can't do anything without the garlic, honey. We're gonna put some garlic powder down in there. Season those. And that's gonna be it, because where we're gonna get the bulk of our flavor is going to come from our lemon pepper, our truffle aioli. So we're gonna mix those in. I'm just gonna take my fork, because honey, that's working my arm just a little bit too much. And we're gonna mix those in real good. Come over here and look at that. Doesn't that look delicious, honey? Let me tell you something. You will not be disappointed when you put these in the oven, and after they're done and you put them in your mouth, honey, let me tell you something. You're gonna be clapping hallelujah and singing the hallelujah chorus. Hallelujah. This is so, so good. Listen, if you could only smell what I smell, oh my God, the aroma. The aroma is so good. The olive oil mixing with the garlic, mixing with the, I literally feel like just diving into this pot right now, this bowl of gold goodness. Let me tell you, honey. Listen, come on in, smell that. That smells so good. Let me tell you, we're going to take these, and now with the pan that I've already, honey, you already know about it, I've laced in foil. Why? Because we don't want to have a whole lot of extra dishes to wash. We will wash it, but what we won't have to do is scrub it at the bottom. It's super hard to get the stuff off the bottom. So what you're gonna do is take them and you're gonna pour them right into your pan here, making sure that every one of them is evenly covered. And what you want to do is make sure that they're spread out in your pan. And you do want the olive oil that's left in the bottom of the pan to get into the pan, because that's gonna be your roasting part. It's gonna help them to really roast and be oven fried evenly. So you want to put those across there, and We're not done yet. We have one more herb that we're going to, and what you don't want to do is leave all that goodness at the bottom of the pot, honey. Listen, that's where it is. And then what we're going to do is come in there and we're going to we're going to add one more herb to it, and that is our dill. Now, this has been freeze dried. So it's fresh dill that's been placed inside of a jar, and that is still a fresh dill. You still can get it fresh versus the one that has been totally dehydrated and been sitting on the shelf forever. Some of the ones you can find that are freshly prepared are in the refrigerated section alongside the fresh dill. For some reason, like today, I just think maybe it's the time of the year that I couldn't find the herbs that I really wanted to find. So maybe our next meal we'll be able to have exactly the ones that we want. So what you're gonna do is just take some fresh dill and put your dill or some freeze-dried dill and put it directly on top of your potatoes. Let me tell you, honey, it's almost like a lemony goodness. And then that's where, when we're done, we're going to squeeze a little bit of lemon on them. Let me tell you, honey, lemon wakes up anything. The acidity inside of the lemon will give these potatoes a heavenly goodness. So that's where this aioli is going to come in, and it's got a little bit of lemon inside of it. And we're going to put the extra truffle oil inside, and they are going to be delicious. Come on, let's put them in the oven, honey. We don't have time to waste. We are ready to eat. So we're gonna take them, we're gonna place them in a 500-degree oven, and we're gonna place them inside the oven. Thank God I have a double oven. And let me tell you, you place those inside and they are ready to go. And let's close them up for about 30 minutes. Yes, on 500 degrees, and they are ready to go. Okay, now it's time to take a look at that trout. Remember that good old trout that we seasoned with all of those good herbs and spices? Honey, let's see what it's doing now. It's been in there now for about 14 minutes or so, and now let's see what's happening. I know I said 15, but we're gonna check on it and see what it's doing. Let's see. Ooh, listen to that. Can you hear that? Oh my goodness, honey. That looks amazingly delicious. So what we're going to do, we're gonna take the juices that's on there and pour them up on the side of the fish. We want to make sure that goodness gets all the way down inside of that fish. That's what is inside of that fish, is goodness. And this is going to be somewhat near a medium well trout. It looks like salmon, doesn't it? But I promise you, it's trout. This must have been a very big mama. Very, very delicious. And so what we want to do is make sure that just before you serve it, you're going to take a lemon and place it on the trout, and then you're going to serve it and give your guests the opportunity to squeeze some of that extra goodness onto their fish if they so choose to. But let me tell you, this is ready to eat and ready to go, and I know we're going to enjoy fresh eats with me. Now that we've got the trout ready, now let's check on our glazed carrots. Now, remember we brought them to a boil and then we cut them out, and now we're just allowing them to simmer. Come and look in this pot. Listen, honey, they are ready to go, and that goodness is all inside of that juice and all inside of those carrots. And what you do is just allow them to sit in the pot and soak up some of that goodness of the seasoning along with the goodness of the pure natural carrot, and we'll be ready. Remember, it is so important not to overcook your vegetables because there's goodness and nutrients on the inside of it, and we want to enjoy the fresh eats with me. So now it's time to put all the bad boys in the pot, honey. These are the king, honey. Somebody say king is going in the pot. Our king crab is going inside of our pot. Remember, we seasoned earlier our juice and our broth that's going to actually cook these king crab. Listen, it doesn't take them very long to cook. This one is very, very, very large, so we're just going to take them, stick them in, and listen, yes, that's enough for 3 people. And we've got just a little bit of the end there that's left. I'm going to stick that inside Listen, no, we're not gonna cook a whole lot of them, just enough to complement our meal. We don't want to take over the meal with the trout. We want the trout to be the star and just to have the others to complement our dish. When we come back, listen, honey, we're gonna be plated and ready to sit down and enjoy a good feast.
Say it again.
Now it's time for the big reveal, honey. Look, King been sitting in the pot all this time, waiting for us to come and grab him out of this pot. Him, her, I don't know. How do you tell the difference between a male and female crab? Maybe you guys know. Tell me in the bottom of the comments. I really don't know. But nevertheless, look at our king crab here. That looks amazing. They've been steamed. They are ready to go. And we'll be back with you to show you the big reveal of what came out of this shell. It's a meal all by itself. Honey, nothing but sheer perfection. They're just about ready to take out of the oven, and we are going to enjoy that good crunchy goodness of those potatoes. Hey everybody, listen. While you are away, guess what I did? Come on in. Guess what I did? I made some homemade garlic knots. So listen, if you don't want to make something homemade, bread homemade, you can actually go to your local grocery store and get you some fresh garlic knots, and get you some fresh garlic dough, and twist your own bread to make your own fresh garlic knots. Listen, come on in, zoom into this bread. This is some of the most best looking bread I've ever seen. Listen, you can take some honey and some fresh butter, or your butter from your freezer, and you can make your own homemade garlic butter sauce to go on top of your bread. Let me tell you something. This is going to be some really good eating here. I may just have to nibble a little bit at each one of them. And let me tell you something. I am so ready to enjoy a little bit of this goodness. Now it's time for the big reveal. Honey, we didn't do all of that hard work for nothing. Are you ready? We've got now the trout, our roasted potatoes. Remember that good old sauce we made for them? And then we've got our glazed carrots, and we've got our honey garlic rolls. Let me tell you something. This dinner is something to live for. Now we're ready to taste it. Let's try our potatoes. Are you ready? Come dig in with me. Grab a little of that aioli sauce on them and let's try them. Listen, Gordon Ramsay, fresh eats with me. Honey, let's try one of these glazed carrots. I really am not saying that just because I cooked it. This is really delicious. Now let me just say, for those of you out there who've already been to my home and know how I cook, comment below and tell me what you think about what you see today based on what you've had before. Listen, this is good eating. Let's try this trout. We're gonna try just a little piece of it because this is Big Daddy's plate. Listen, it is perfectly seasoned. It reminds me of when you catch a piece of trout and you take it and you sear it on both sides in a black skillet, and we just did it on a regular pan. Listen, now we're gonna try a little bit of that crab. Honey, look, the pieces were that long, but I only got a little bit just to try it. I put a little of that drawn butter on it. The sweetness, the naturalness, honey, I can taste the ocean right here on my plate. It's so delicious, along with that trout, those potatoes, those carrots. Honey, try all of my good fresh foods right here on my YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you go down into the description, get the recipe, try it with your family, and try fresh eats with me.